And we're live. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Alec. I see a few names. It's good to see some of you guys coming back. Peter, remember you. Shankar, Niels. I feel like I know that one. It's not a few good names. That's amazing. Yeah, we're ready. Good amount of people. Feel free to say hi in the chat. Hey, Peter. Hey, Jason. Hello. We'll just hang on a couple more minutes, and then we're getting started. There's a few more people trickling in. Hey, Alec. All right. So maybe before we're getting started, also just a quick reminder, if you have any questions at any time, just feel free to post them in the chat, and we'll respond to anything as we're going through the presentation with Aziz and Geraldo, or we'll get to in the Q&A at the end of the session. And also another reminder, this is recorded, so we will follow up with the recording probably tomorrow, as well as all the sort of like useful links to material and everything that we're going to go through. So don't go crazy taking notes. You'll get everything in your inbox tomorrow morning. All right, there's a few more people coming in. Hey, Costas, we know you too. Basil, hey, Ole. Hey. All right. I think we can get started. By the way, if anyone wants to make their screen a little bit bigger, there's a minus on the top right. Obvious for who knows it, who doesn't. Took me a while to actually figure it out, and it's useful if for the coding sessions. You'll see better. All right, I think we can get started. So welcome everyone. Today we'll talk about how to make your engineering team, and specifically your front-end team, happy while leveraging a Kubernetes setup underneath. So I'm Luca, your moderator, lead product at Humanitech, and I'll support our two presenters today, Geraldo, who's our lead backend, and Aziz, who's our front-end lead. So let's actually start with a question. Do developers even have the right to be happy? We definitely think so. And so the question is actually, how do we optimize for this happiness? And so maybe without getting too philosophical, what makes you happy, Geraldo?
Oh yeah, I think the first thing that makes me happy is not being interrupted during my day work, and when everything is working perfectly and efficiently. I think it's the perfect day for me.
Perfect. What about you, Aziz?
I think what makes me happy is when I focus on the work that I have to do, so on my front end, and when I don't have to deal with configuration or Kubernetes or, so scripting hell.
So glad you say that. So glad you said that. All right, so that's exactly what we're going to discuss today, guys. So how to abstract this complexity away from your front end and make sure they can focus on coding and on what they actually want to do, as opposed to all these configs and all this mess. So this is the agenda. Geraldo's going to walk you through the pain of doing backend and DevOps, as well as how a internal developed platform can help there. And then that would lead into how that makes actually your front end happier. And Aziz will talk about that as well. And then in the end, we'll have a Q&A as mentioned. So we can now get started. Before we jump into the session and leave it to Aziz and Geraldo, maybe just a quick poll to understand who of you guys is here. So first of all, if you could share what is your function so that we know how many front ends and back ends. So in your right-hand side, you can fill in. All right, trickling in. So we have good amount of backends and DevOps, fewer front ends. All right, that's great.
Yay.
Yeah, Aziz, you're alone. You're alone. You and two more. And then maybe also a second quick poll around your Kubernetes skills, since that's what we're going to talk about today. So it's good to see the most are experienced. All right, a few beginners, a few experienced. Amazing. I think that's good. We're good. We're good to go, guys. All right. I'll leave it to you, and I'll disappear. Have fun.
Thank you very much, Luca. Yeah, let's talk about the pain of doing backend and DevOps. This is not any criticism about DevOps or neither the backend role. This is more the thing that we face every day, and what could be better, right? In this case, what is difficult for us during our day work, right? Well, be a DevOps in a backend is especially complicated, right? Because you are not only required to the tasks that you are particularly supposed to do, like doing your DevOps tasks, doing your backend tasks. Mainly, you need to not only your own team, right? You need to support other external team outside your context, right? Which means at some point you need to receive some external questions or problems and external tickets, and do so. For example, do one request from another team, and so it depends how the company works and how it is organized. Yeah, but think about it. When someone needs a deployment, in that time when I was a backend and a DevOps, I was the person to perform the deployment, right? And imagine the interruptions, right? If you have a bigger team, if you have a lot of features being developed or fixed, being worked at the same time, right? And if, for example, when a new project arises, when someone needs a new environment, I was the person to create. And 90% of the time, this task was not straightforward. And I always got one and another particularity that makes the entire thing a little bit more complicated. And not to mention, some configurations could not be provided like correctly, right? The simple copy of, okay, we need this, we have this new project, this new environment, and I will just copy this to staging and then create this new one to production. This new those environments has some specific particularities, and at some point it's not straightforward to create those, right? And even worse when depending on the team and how old the project is, or the variety, how vary the standards is on across your teams, across your company. I had to deal with these different standards, right? And even non-containerized projects, which in like 2020, it's weird when you're not talking about containerized applications, right? In terms of web development, I must say. Yep, and when I need to deal with infrastructure, I was maintaining, even when I got lucky, right? Maintain infrastructure as a code in Puppet or Chef, right? And with Puppet, with the easy of use Puppet and Chef, you need to maintain the server to run those and create your infrastructure, right? And create the things that you need to create. Mostly, I felt like that I have no time to perform my daily tasks. And like I said, it's especially complicated. But one good thing happened. I started to work at Humanitech, and it's been almost 2 years. And I just knew this new horizon about the internal development platform. And this is highly beneficial for everyone. And the internal development platform, it plays an important role abstracting some tasks, right? Even automating like error-prone repetitive tasks. But what I'm talking about is this is the centerpiece of teams, centerpiece of environments, infrastructure parts, right? Once the IDP is running, ops and development teams will have a proper division of responsibility, right? You ops can take care of infrastructure issues, take care of security and monitoring. In other hand, the development team can work in an autonomous, fast fashion, right? So, for example, let's say that we have to create one ephemeral environment to test one feature or do one POC. No need to call the ops team for that, right? No need to create a ticket for your DevOps team, create this environment so you can run your simple test and check if your POC will work or not, right? Deploy, it's other thing that can do even automatically with your IDP, based on your CD event, right? In your pipeline. So that's one more thing. No need to call ops for that. And configure your application without handle any Kubernetes manifest or any sort of Helm chart. And this is cool. This is really nice because we can not only remove the complexity for people that is not supposed to deal with that, right? But we can deploy and fix things really fast, right? Easy peasy. No matter if you are using Git flow, branching workflows, or even other framework that you have chosen, everyone will finally focus on their tasks, right? And this represents the company fast deliveries. We are really working the core business of the company, and everything will start to work properly, and the developer experience will increase a lot. And I must tell that since I started to work at Humanitech, I discovered this with, of course, new. I was new to this concept, and now I can tell for everyone that if you have Kubernetes on your infrastructure, and if you are handle the deployments in this fashion, like using creating manifests, creating Helm charts, you can do better than this, right? And yeah, let's show one thing about Human Tech platform here. I will log into my account. Just a second. And yeah, this is my test account. And for example, one of the things that I mentioned before, we since we are dealing with Kubernetes, we need to create images, right? In order to deploy our applications. So containerized images, and we have as an IDP role, right? We integrate with your CI/CD pipeline, right? So we support in this officially Bitbucket, GitHub Actions, and Circle CI. So we can deal with all of that. One of the greatest things about IDP is if you need some specific resource, your IDP is supposed to create that for you, right? So and for that, you need to provide the correct credentials for that, right? So we support here for dynamic resources, Google Cloud Platform and AWS. And during some of migrations for our clients into Human Tech platform, we noticed that they have already some resources, right? DNS entries, databases, even Kubernetes cluster already created. So at this point, we have this concept of static resource. For example, if we have already this cluster, let's say on Azure, and we just provide the details here, and you are in the internal development platform you are using on top of your AKS, right? It's awesome. It's the complexity to manage the secrets, the values, and the driver details. It's on the internal development platform, so it's really nice. And then there is other administration tasks here. That's pretty simple. And the concept of when you create this application, I will create this really quickly. It's way simple, right? When you have one application, have modules, the workloads under your application, right? And when Kubernetes is the park, the playground of microservices, right? You can create way easily microservices under Kubernetes, and this tool can make this thing entirely easier, right? And one thing that I didn't mention that IDP is supposed to handle your DNS entries as well. So if you need to expose this application to outside, your IDP should provide this to you. If you need a database, your IDP is supposed to provide this to you. So all of those tasks we need if we divide into specific teams, we have at least 3 teams working on this task that I'm performing right now, like the network people, infrastructure people, the DevOps or DBA guys that will manage the database, create for you and provide the exactly credentials for you, and the person that will perform the deployment. Could be you, could be other team, no problem. And I'm doing this like right now, pretty simple. And pretty nice. This is supposed to be really fast, like a couple of seconds, couple of minutes that we have, depending the thing that you are deploying, of course. We have the basic result here already done. Yeah, like I said, we have this module here. We can see the logs, that other thing that I didn't mention for internal development platform, because once you deploy it, you should have some information about your application, right? And then here, I will not bother to configure this, right? But I'm just saying to you that with internal development platform, the development experience will increase a lot, right? And this makes the backend happy, makes the DevOps happy, particularly when I'm performing DevOps tasks. I'm doing in order to hand over to the internal development platform, right? And this is really nice because we are kind of one main punch at this point, right? And since the front ends and back ends are happy, I'm happy to hand over to Aziz.
Thank you very much, Geraldo. So yeah, as Geraldo says, what actually an IDP offers is autonomy. That's the most important thing for me and for other front-end developers who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience with Kubernetes, or they have no idea how to bring their application to the cloud, or they don't want to deal with configuration in general. So I saw here in the poll that there's many people who doesn't have a Kubernetes experience, and that's totally fine. Even if you don't have any Kubernetes experience, it should work. You should still be able to develop your application and you bring it to the cloud, right? So for this purpose, now I will just demo how this IDP helped me with my workflow and helped me to define the workflow in the team, and also again helped me to be autonomous. I'm independent from any DevOps or backend guy, and also I don't have to annoy my colleagues every time I want to do a change in my workflow. So yeah, I create an application here. You can see my code. I hope you can. Let's see again. If you can, please answer yes. Yes. Okay. Cool. So so this is a simple React application. It's really like the boilerplate React application that you get when you use the create React application repo. What I added here to this repo is the Docker file. Of course, you use application in our IDP or actually in Kubernetes in general, they have to be Dockerized. For this is that's why the Docker file is there. Basically, what it does, it runs npm install to install the packages. It builds the application, and then it exposes the Docker container to import 9000. Another thing that I added here for the purpose of this demo, for this webinar, I used GitHub Actions as my CI. That doesn't have to be GitHub Action. It could be any other CI, but it just used it for the purpose of demoing today. And for this, you have this workflow file where you say when the CI pipeline is triggered, and here in any branch, so whenever you push to a branch or whenever you push to a tag. And this will trigger a job which will use the repo that we have in Humanitech, which is build push to Humanitech. What does it do? It builds the Docker container and it pushes to Humanitech and notifies the IDP. So that's basically about the structure of our application. One other thing that maybe not all React applications or front-end applications in general have is this. It's this bash script. It basically what it does, it takes environment variables from the container, from the Docker container, and add them to the window variable in our browser. So we can access environment variable from our container. And here you can see the .env. That's the typical way how you define environments, and that's just the local environments, the local environment variable. So that's the environment name is local. We have the WebSocket URL, and we have the API URL. So 3 environment variables. I will send the application later. I'll send the link to the repo so you can check it by yourself. Yeah, you can play with it. Also, you can also use it with the platform. You can test it yourself after. So I'm not going to run through all the code now. If you have any questions, you can ask me later. So yeah, so going back to our platform now, I will create a fresh application for this webinar, and let's call it webinar demo. So yeah, that's our IDP here. Here you can see the environment. So now it starts by default with a development environment. So that's how we start. We need to, if you want to deploy something, we need to select the image for it. And that's the image for the example that I showed before. So the application, this boilerplate React application. I click on it and I can add an image. So here, when you add an image, you go inside the image view and you can expose it with a public URL. We want to do that because it's front end, it should be exposed. We have to change the port to port 9000. That's where we expose our Docker container. And we can go ahead and add the environment variables for the dev environment. So this could be something like devapi.example.com, maybe something like this. WebSocket. I have to check how to call it. So yeah, you define the environment variables for this. And there's also the environment name, which is here is the dev environment. Okay, and here you can select also what image you want to choose. I will just choose the last image that I pushed. So this on master, so this one. And I can deploy it now. Now, deploying is only the click of a button here. It's almost too simple, right? Something that in my past experience wasn't like this. In the usual case, it's usually there's a script for it that you have to run the script to run the deployment, or you have to ask your DevOps or backend guy to do this for you. Now, this is not very, you're always dependent of some script or someone else, right, to do the deployment for you. Here, you can just go ahead. I added the image, I just deploy. You can give command to your deployments, and that's it. And then you click deploy, and it's deployed, right? And it takes a bit of seconds here or minutes, whatever, to deploy. And then you get your, when it finishes the deployment, you can see what's deployed. So let's wait a bit until it finishes. Okay, so here it's saying up and running. So that's my first deployment is deployed. Here is the React application that's deployed. You can go inside and see what's deployed where as well. That's something really useful. So as a front-end developer, for example, I want to see the environment variables in my container, or I want to see what image has been used, what commit ID has been used in this image. I want to see container logs, or yeah, so there's, or the configuration in the container. So you can see what's deployed where here. And also, you can go ahead and check the application itself. So as we expose the application with a public URL, you can go to the application, and there's the link here that's auto-generated, and it shows you the application. So what the application does, actually, the application is a trivial application that just lists the environment variables. So we can see here that's listing the dev environments, what we added already, right, in our container. Now let's say we want to define a workflow, right? So as we work, if you work in the development team, you have different workflows, and you want to be dependent to set up this workflow as you want. And if for example, I want to do 5 different environments for different use cases, I should be able to do it without the help of anybody else. And that's exactly what the platform does. So you can go here and, okay, let's create, let's go with the traditional way, create a staging environment. So when you create a staging environment, you can clone it from another environment. You can clone it from development. What does it mean, clone? Is like, it's just the default settings. So the default settings, it will take everything that is from development environment. So here you can see the port is the same. It's exposed with a public URL. It has the same image, and it has the same environment variables from the dev environment. Here, what we have to change is just we have to change this to staging, basically, or whatever your staging values are. That's about it, right? So yeah, let's deploy now to staging. We change the variable names. Here also there's this screen that's really nice. It works like the GitHub changes. So you can see what's the diff, what's happened in your deployment. And here you can see that you changed, what I'm doing in my deployment is I changed these environment variables to staging, to the staging variables. First deployment to staging. Also here you can do stuff like, we had also some example in the past where you want just to deploy one branch, just to test this specific branch, right? And you can do it here. You can just go here and create a feature branch and create an environment just for this feature branch and deploy it separately. So here, yeah, we have staging. If we go to the staging application, you can see here that the environment variables are coming from staging now, right? Because it's another, yeah, that's the environment that are in this container. So that's one thing, spinning up environments and deploying it becomes really easy. And as you can see now from the example that I did now, it's just, I can do it myself, even if I don't have really big Kubernetes experience or DevOps experience or whatever, I still can do that. And that's how it's supposed to be. The developer should focus on developing, doing their role, right? I'm a front-end developer, I should focus on developing front-end, and this should be as easy as possible. So it should flow as easy as possible. Second thing that I really like about the IDP, and also it helps me a lot, because actually that's also a fact, actually, that I developed this application, the interface, but I also use the IDP to deploy what I developed. So I use this IDP to deploy this application. So actually, I'm using it every day, and that's I'm talking about the points now that it helped me the most. Another point is to set up deployment automation rules. So what this means, so when I'm developing, right, I'm working in a dev branch. I want, whenever I push a commit to dev, it gets deployed automatically to development. I don't want even to click on this deploy button. I just want it to deploy automatically. How you can do this? There's a feature here which is really nice. It's called automation. You can click on it, and then you can add rules or when this deployment should be triggered. So here you can say, whenever there's an update to the head of dev branch, here you can give any regex and it will work. For my example, my branch is called dev, so I chose the dev here. And if any image is pushed to dev, it will automate the deployment basically. So yeah, let's add this rule. If you add this rule, you have it. You have here an icon that it's running, and then let's go back to our application. So I'm working on application now. I just changed whatever. I just changed. I add a margin here, whatever. And then I'm on the dev branch now. I just commit my changes. Yeah, I commit my changes and then I'll push them to the dev branch. That's like the normal use case, right? The simplest use case. I push my changes, and here, when I push, you can see if you go to the actions here in the section of GitHub Actions. So here, as I said, I'm using GitHub Actions as a CI, but it could be any other CI. Now I will explain you how is this working with GitHub Actions. So if you click the Actions sections, you can see now the commit that I pushed, and it triggers a deployment job. No, it triggers an action, a GitHub action, that will basically build and push to Humanitech. So this will build the Docker container and push it to Humanitech. When this is finished, an automated deployment will be triggered here automatically, so without even clicking on deploy. So as a developer, I will just go change code, push, it deploys to development. I can set similar kind of rules to staging. For example, I want to deploy to staging only if the head of staging changes. Or maybe we can do it if there's a new tag. If there's a new tag, deploy to staging. There's different possibilities that you can work with. Yeah, here maybe we have to wait for this job. So in the meantime, if you have any questions, please let me know in the chat. It can be a question about whatever, about the UI. Yeah, about the UI or my workflow or whatever. Okay, Kostis, I'm getting your question. Apart from the Docker file, are there any special requirements in the front-end application, maybe regarding routing or web context or something else? Are there any cases where I need to change something in my front-end application so that it works with Humanitech? No. You need the Docker file. You need, obviously, to set it with a CI pipeline. And you need the script that I told you that I told you about before. The script that takes the environment variables. It takes the environment variables from the container. So actually, it's this script. You can copy it even because you have the repo. What it does, it just takes the environment variables from the container and add them to your window objects, so you can use the environment variables. So that's the three requirements. In general, you can deploy any application. It doesn't have to be JavaScript or whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as it's Dockerized, it can be deployed with our IDP. I hope this answers the question. Cool. Someone else?
Yes. Has the build finished, Aziz, or we're still waiting on that?
We're still waiting a bit. We can.
Okay. So Ole is asking, related to Kostas' questions, are there any solutions for custom domains? We use course rules to lock down and loud sources and so on.
Yeah, there is a custom solution for that. In fact, we abstract this at Human Tech Platform as a static resource. Since you already, for example, you have your domain hosted parked on Route 53, for example, we can automate this through using Route 53 or using your already created in any provider that you are using. Basically, this is a one static resource, right? And you can define your course headers into your containerized application. This is totally configurable.
Nice. Did that answer your question, Ola? Awesome. Cool.
Cool. I will continue because the build is finished. Here you see the job is completed. And what happened before, if you saw that was an automated deployment that already triggered, it says automated deployment here. And it just deployed the change that I did. So I don't remember the change. I think it's margin. And yeah, you can see here it's a weird margin. It's there. But yeah, so my change is already deployed now to the cloud. I didn't even have to click on deploy. It just deployed because I set this rules, automation, deployment automation rules. So you can see there's an indefinite number of possibilities that you can play with to make the setup or the workflow that fits most with your in your team, right? Other thing that is really nice that you can do with the platform is to do rollback. So you can roll back really easily to
I think we lost Aziz briefly. Yeah, I know, Peter.
Technical problems.
He was having some technical issues before we started presenting, so I think we went pretty far, but they finally hit it. Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, it happens. Geraldo, do you want to pull up your screen and show the Human Tech? And if you guys have any other questions, exactly, Ola. Now you know it's all real. It's all real.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys have any other questions in the meantime, all right. So Costas is asking, what does the update to latest mean in the automation role? The Docker tag or the most recent tag, deploying Docker images with the latest tag in production is not a really good practice. What do you think, Geraldo? Aziz is back. Hey, Aziz.
Hey guys, sorry I dropped. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, no problem, man. I will answer this question. Meanwhile, before Aziz is setting up again. About this tag to be latest, this is not a good practice at all to use to deploy your applications. And but you should use this not the latest tag on your deployments, right? On your internal in your configuration itself. We are using the latest, which is defined, for example, more recent in this case. But we are not tagging during the deployment when the IDP translates this to Kubernetes manifests. We are not using the latest. We are using the tag which is generated, right?
Did that answer, Costas?
The
latest thing is okay.
Good feedback. Yeah. We are still taking feedback for this. Yeah, so I will continue with my presentation.
Yeah.
I continue with my presentation. So yeah, I was talking about the biggest nightmare of any developer is to deploy something to probably production. Maybe you do a hot fix and you push it to master, and then everything breaks, right? And everyone is angry, the users are angry, your boss is angry, and then you have to you redeploy or you roll back fast. Now, there is some other ways to roll back, of course, that exist and many people are familiar with. But here, it's with using the IDP, it's really easy, right? It makes this rollback process in a really easy way that you can do it in a second, and it's it doesn't take so much effort to do it. So I'll just demo that really fast. So maybe that's my first deployment. I'll create a new deployment, and let's make some mistakes. So let's add this production. Let's call it I don't know, tests, which is wrong. It will, all the calls to the API URL will fail now. And let's deploy this. You see the change? That's wrong. Deploy. So yeah, I'm deploying now to master. It's a bad practice, I know. I just do it for the demo. I wouldn't do it in real life. But yeah, you just deployed something and it breaks everything, and then you say, okay, what should I do? And you don't want to go to someone else to do it. Probably it will take a lot of time. It's usually a complex process. So what you do here, you just go to the all deployment. So that's my deployment now. It has this this weird variable with test here instead of the production. And you can go to the past deployments that you deployed before. So that's my first deployment. You can go to it, check what's deployed there. Oh, that has the right one. It has production. I want to go back to this. And if you say you want to go back to this, you just redeploy. Here, there's a button that appears that's called redeploy to master. And then when you redeploy, it just redeploys the whole application. It brings it back to the state of that deployment. And then the problem is solved, right? So you can see how this can make your life easier. That's just some examples, but there's more to it that you can play around with. So yeah, mainly what I really like about this is that it brings autonomy in the team. Or for me as a front-end developer, or my team as front-end team, we are autonomous to do deployments, to redeploy, to roll back, to create environments, to set up our workflow. So as you see here, this could accelerate our process a lot, and it's a lot faster, and you don't need to bother anybody else. So everyone is happy, the backend developer and the front-end developer and the DevOps. Yeah, so that's about my presentation for today. If you have any questions, please let me know in the chat section. I'll make sure to answer them.
And thank Gerald as well. So everyone's happy. How about the audience? Do you guys have any questions left for us? We want to be mindful of time, so we have a couple of minutes left. We'd like to keep them good and crisp, so feel free to drop them in the chat now. Otherwise, as a reminder, you'll get everything in your inbox tomorrow. The building materials that Aziz and Geraldo went through, as well as the recording of the whole session. Thank you, Costas.
Thank you.
You know it's real. You know it's real.
It's not recorded, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Alec.
Thank you for joining.
Any upcoming demo more focused on backend topics? Well, not top of my head, but Ole, we will share in the follow-up email a link to all the upcoming webinars, so you can see what makes the most sense. We have one that's going to be kind of like similar to this, around scaling your team alongside Kubernetes. So kind of like showing real-life examples of what mistakes you might make, and sort of like in bottlenecks that create that are created through Kubernetes, and how an IDP helps you to fix them. So that's going to be a little bit more back-endy. So you want to check that out. And a similar it's also going to be on the 15th of December, how you make all your developers self-serving with an IDP. It's going to be hosted by Caspar, our CEO. And the one that I mentioned before is going to be on December 9th. And we're actually hosting it with Spoiler Squad, who's one of our partners. Costas is, I would like a webinar with more automation rules and how you could do things like chunk-based development or Git flow with your mind. Like, all right. Thanks for the feedback. We'll put it on top of our webinar topics list.
And I am the guy that loves automation.
Yeah, Geraldo, you'll have to host one more. Nice. All right, cool, guys. We're running on the 45 clock. So if there's not any more questions, thank you for joining us today. We'll follow up with everything, and we hope we see you guys at the next webinar. Have a good evening, wherever you are. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.